ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಉಪನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ ಮಂಡ್ಯ, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ರಾಜ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ ಮಂಡ್ಯ ಇವರ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಈ ವಿದ್ಯುನ್ಮಾನ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು 6 ಅಧ್ಯಾಯಗಳನ್ನು, ಪ್ರಥಮ PUCಯ 6 ಅಧ್ಯಾಯಗಳನ್ನು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ NG, ರಾಜ್ಯಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕ, ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಪದವಿ ಪೂರ್ವ ಕಾಲೇಜು ದುದ್ದ, ಮಂಡ್ಯ ತಾಲೂಕು ಮತ್ತು ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಈ 7ನೇ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗವನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ಈ 7ನೇ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಅರ್ಥ, ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಮಹತ್ವ, ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ, ಭಾರತದ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತಹ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿ, ಅವರ ಆಯ್ಕೆ, ಅವರ ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳು, ಹಾಗೆ ಉಪರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿ ಇವರ ಆಯ್ಕೆ, ಅವರ ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳು, ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲ ಇವರ ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜ್ಯಪಾಲರು ಇವರ ನೇಮಕ, ಅವರ ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಕರ್ತವ್ಯಗಳು, ಹಾಗೆ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಇವರ ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲ ಮತ್ತು ಅವರ ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಕರ್ತವ್ಯಗಳು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ನಾವು ಈ 7ನೇ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಲಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಚರ್ಚೆಯನ್ನು ಆರಂಭ ಮಾಡುವ ಈ ಹೊತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲೇಟೋರವರ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನು ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ಅವರು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥ ಆಡಳಿತಗಾರರಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾರು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿದರೋ ಅವರು ಪ್ರಾಜ್ಞರಾಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಅಥವಾ ಅವರು ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲಾದರೂ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಜ್ಞತೆಯನ್ನು ಗಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಆ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಒಂದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಕೋಟಲೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೊನೆಯಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಪ್ಲೇಟೋರವರ ಒಂದು ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ಆ ಪ್ರಾಜ್ಞತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಈ ಪದದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಬುದ್ಧಿಮತ್ತೆ, ಅವರ ಚಾಣಾಕ್ಷತೆ, ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕತೆ, ದಕ್ಷತೆ, ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಂಶಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತವೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ಪ್ಲೇಟೋರವರು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸಿರುವಂಥ ಈ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ದೇಶಗಳಿಗೂ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಲಗಳಿಗೂ ಅನ್ವಯಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಒಂದು ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ಸಾರುವಂಥ ಅವರ ಮಾತನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಅರ್ಥವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಅಂಗವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಸರ್ಕಾರದ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳು ಯಾವುದು? ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ, ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಮತ್ತು ನ್ಯಾಯಾಂಗ. ಈ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತಹ 2ನೇ ಅಂಗವೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ. ಮತ್ತು ಇದೇನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ರಚಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಶಾಸನಗಳನ್ನು ಕಾರ್ಯರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ತರುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ರೀತಿ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು, ಅದರ ಕೆಲಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳೇನು ಅಂತ. ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇದು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು, ಮತ್ತು ಶಾಸನಗಳನ್ನು ಜಾರಿಗೆ ತರುವಂತಹ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಅಂಗವೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗವನ್ನು ನಾವು 2 ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಇನ್ನೂ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಒಂದು ಸಮಗ್ರ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನ ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನ. ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಸಮಗ್ರ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಜೆ ಅಂತ ಕರೆಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿಯವರಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಾಮ ಪಂಚಾಯಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುವಂಥ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಟಿ ದರ್ಜೆ ನೌಕರ ಇವರವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಸಮಗ್ರ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನ ಅಂತ ಕರೆಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಅಥವಾ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ತೀರ್ಮಾನಗಳನ್ನು ಕೈಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೇಳೋದಾದರೆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿ, ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲ, ಹಾಗೆ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೇಳೋದಾದರೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಪಾಲರು, ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲ ಇವರು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಸಮಗ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದುವರೆದು ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಏಕೆ ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಗಳಿಸಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅದರ ಮಹತ್ವ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾವುದೇ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಪಾತ್ರ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಇರೋದನ್ನು ಕಾಣ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ನಡೆಯೋದೇ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಕೆಲಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ. ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಯಾವುದೇ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ನಾಯಕತ್ವವನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಿಕೊಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿಯವರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿಯವರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲದ ಸದಸ್ಯರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಾಗೆ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜ್ಯಪಾಲರು, ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲದ ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಇವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ರಾಜ್ಯವನ್ನು ಪ್ರತಿನಿಧಿಸುವಂಥ ನಾಯಕರಾಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವರು ನಾಯಕರಾಗಿದ್ದುಕೊಂಡು ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳ ಉಸ್ತುವಾರಿಯನ್ನು ಇವರು ಹೊತ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ಶಾಸನಗಳನ್ನು ರಚನೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ನಿಜ, ಆದರೆ ಆ ಶಾಸನಗಳಿಗೆ ನಿಜವಾದ ಅರ್ಥ ಬರೋದು ಅದು ಕಾರ್ಯರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ. ಶಾಸನಗಳು ಕೇವಲ ಅಕ್ಷರ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಉಳಿದುಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನವೂ ಕೂಡ ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಪ್ರಜೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆ ಶಾಸನಗಳಿಗೆ ನಿಜವಾದ ಅರ್ಥವನ್ನು ತಂದುಕೊಡುವುದು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ, ಶಾಸನಗಳನ್ನು ಜಾರಿಗೆ ತರುವುದು. ಹಾಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳು ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರಜೆಯ ಆತನ ಹುಟ್ಟಿನಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ಆತನ ಅಂತ್ಯದವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಆತನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇಕು ಬೇಡಗಳನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಇದರ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ಹೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಹಾರದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಪಡಿತರ ಚೀಟಿ ಮೂಲಕ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಉಚಿತ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಶಾಲಾ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸೌಕರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಒದಗಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಬಹುತೇಕ ಇವತ್ತು ಉಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಪ್ರಜೆಗಳು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಇಂತಹ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಿರೋದೇನಿದೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಈ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಪರಿಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಸಾಕಾರ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಪಾತ್ರ ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಯಾವುದೇ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಶಾಂತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಶಿಸ್ತನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವನ್ನು ಆಂತರಿಕವಾಗಿ ಕಾಪಾಡುವುದು, ಹಾಗೆ ಬಾಹ್ಯ ಆಕ್ರಮಣಗಳಿಂದ ಇನ್ಯಾವುದೇ ಭೀತಿಗಳಿಂದ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಇದನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುವಂಥ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯದಿಂದಲೇ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಜನ ಬಹಳ ನಿರ್ಭೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಮತ್ತು ಶಾಂತಿಯಿಂದ ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೇಲ್ಕಂಡ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಗಮನಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಅರ್ಥವನ್ನು, ಅದರ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ತರಗತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ. ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಇನ್ನು ಈ ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಾಗ ನೀವು ಈ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳು ಯಾವುವು ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸರಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ, ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಮತ್ತು ನ್ಯಾಯಾಂಗ. ಇನ್ನು ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬಹುದಾದರೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗ ಎಂದರೇನು? ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ನೀವೇನಂತ ಉತ್ತರ ಬರೀಬಹುದು? ಸರ್ಕಾರದ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ 1 ಅಂತ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಕಾರ್ಯವೇನು ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ನೀವು ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಏನು? ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ರಚಿಸಿದಂಥ ಶಾಸನಗಳನ್ನು ಕಾರ್ಯರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ತರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಹಾಗೆ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕಿಗೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಂಗದ ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ವಿವರಿಸಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
Dear students, let us pass on. One more important segment of our study, that is executive. Dear students, you are going to understand in this chapter the importance and use of executive in the political system. The students, when you come across the governmental system, yes, we must understand the important organ of the government, that is executive. After we are already been studied the what we call legislature. The students, yes, we must understand executive after the study of legislature. Why? It is the important question in your mind, I hope. Yes? Let me explain regarding the executive. The two, its meaning, significance in general, and we have to understand the executive in India in particular. Why I am going to give these points in this way? Yes, since the what we call introduction of the political science from the ancient Greece, we are going to give the explanation towards the question, what is government? Yes, the government will be comprising of three important organs, that is legislature, executive and judiciary. Yes, dear students, you already understand what is the position of what we call the legislature in the government in the last chapters. After the detailed explanation and study of the legislature, we must understand the position of the executive in the government in general. Yes, of course, when you come across general explanation regarding executive, yes, when the legislature is going to enact and create the laws which are very much needed of the state, those laws will be execute or implement by the executive. Unless the effective execution of the laws which are created by the legislature, yes, the success of the government will not come to the rulers. Dear students, why I am going to stress on the important organ of the government, that is executive. It is practical machinery to implement the laws, rules, regulations, acts which are enacted and created by the legislature. Of course, when I come across meaning of executive, the same thing we are going to explain or study. Dear students, I have already told you, when you come across in the world scenario, yes, executive is functioning in different manner. Of course, when you come across the famous democratic, what we call system in the world, that is United States of America, yes, we are going to notice the executive only with the president of that nation. Yes, you already understand in the types of governments. In the types of governments, we are already going to study what is the presidential form of government. Yes, president himself is known as the executive of that system. Of course, when you come across our system, yes, parliamentary system, if you are going to ask the question, give an example to the parliamentary system, you are going to indicate UK at the outset. Later, you are going to give the answer towards India. Of course, I would like to give some hints regarding parliamentary system which is going on in the UK. Yes, dear students, here when you come across UK's executive system, it will be comprising of what we call hereditary head of that nation, that is king or queen, crown prince. Simultaneously, we are going to notice the prime minister also, who has been elected by the people of that nation. Yes, in such way, we are going to bifurcate the entity of the executive in the world with the different system, different manners. Of course, let me come to what we call executive in India. Dear students, here ours is some kind of different status we can look. How? Yes. When we come across American system, we will notice the president. When we come across the what we call England or UK system, we are going to notice king or queen with the prime minister. When you come across India, here you are going to notice, yes, I mean in the Union Executive, that is President, Vice President, and Prime Minister. See, it is the beauty of the what we call executive in the world sense. Of course, when you come across American system, England system, and Indian system, we are going to have our own slight difference in our study, of course. Dear students, when you come across Indian executive, yes, what I have already told you, unless we have effect executive, it is impossible to have our own success in the what we call administration of the government. It will show if there is no effective execution of rules and regulations which are created by the what we call legislature, it will be failure of the system. That's why we are going to give an importance towards the activity of what we call executive. The success of the government will be depends upon the ability of its execution with the executive, of course. Dear students, when you come across Union Executive of our Indian nation, what I have already told you, you can notice the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, of course. Here, when you come across the President, I mean Rashtrapati, yes? When you come across Rashtrapati of Indian nation, he is the Chief Executive of our executive system, of course. Here, we are going to understand in the what we call executive in Indian part, his selection, his tenure, his removal, I mean impeachment process, his powers and functions. You will be noticed in the coming classes. When you come across his election, yes, it is quite different. Only Indian nation you are going to conduct the president's election. When we compare to other system, it is quite different. You can notice in the coming classes how we are going to elect Indian president. And also, we are going to discuss about his tenure. Yes. And we are coming to understand his impeachment. Though he is the first citizen of India, though he is the highly powerful fellow in the Indian political system, our constitution will be give the provisions his removal when if he is act against the provisions or framework of the Indian constitution. You will be read this thing in your further studies. Yes, with this thing you are going to understand his powers, his functions, how he is going to discharge what we call legislative functions, executive functions, and financial functions, other functions. Yes, you will be noticed in detail in the coming class. With the what we call presidential position, we are going to understand vice president. Yes, before 1952, it was not important one, but when our vice president of India, first vice president of India, that is Radhakrishnan. Yes. Two, seeing his ability, his philosophical nature, then president has been decided to make this position in the second position of, after president of India. Yes. Today we are going to consider the second highest position in the Indian political system, that is vice president. You are going to understand his election, tenure, removal, powers and functions also. Finally, we are coming to understand Prime Minister, his and Council of Ministers. How these positions will have its own toughness with the what we call these two positions. Then we will be coming to understand the state executive. In the state executive, that is governor, his appointment, his foreign functions, how he will be act as a chief of the state or constitutional head of the state in the state executive with the advice of chief minister and his council of ministers, his appointment, powers and functions. These things will be covered in the what we call Indian executive. Dear students, here there will be a very good word or definition of our Plato. What is this? Mankind will never see an end of trouble until lovers of wisdom come to hold political power, or the holders of the power become lovers of the wisdom. It's what it says, what our Plato has been trying to say in his definition. A wise fellow, the fellow who is love the wisdom will love the administration. That administration empower the state. That state will be developed all comprehensively. Yes, that's all. The students, let me pass on. What is the meaning of executive in particular? Yes, I've already told you. What is the meaning of executive in general, in particular? I've already told you. But what you are going to see in this slide, when you come across meaning of the executive, yes, one of the most important organs along with legislature and judiciary of the government, what I told you in the last discussion. Yes, it executes and enforces laws and policies of the public affairs. Yes, these laws created by the legislature of the system. These laws will be what we call controlled and visioned by the judiciary. You must be understand these things. Here, you are going to understand there are two dimensions in the executive. What are these? Yes. When we come across the two dimensions of the executive, here there will be macro and micro. What do you mean by macro? It is wider sense. Micro, simple sense. It will be deep explanation. Micro is always give you deep explanation. Macro will always give you a comprehensive explanation. Dear students, what you are going to see in this slide, when you come across macro dimension, I mean broader dimension, here executive consists on the government officials right from the first person of the country, the president, to the last working person in the Gram Panchayati, that is group D worker. Here, I would like to give one nomenclature, that is rank and file. Rank means the person who is acting at the highest position, that is rank. File, the person who is going to hold the file table to table. Yes, that's why D group. Dear students, you understand the thing when you come across executive in the broader sense or macro sense. It will be comprises of the since highest positions officers to D group worker. Yes, it is the macro dimension of the executive. Of course, when you come across micro dimension, narrow, simple, yes, head of the state and his advisors. That's all. When you come across, yes, in the macro or narrow sense, we are going to decide. For example, president and his advisors. Who is his advisors? Prime Minister and his cabinet colleagues and so on. When you come across Indian executive in macro sense, micro sense, that is president with him vice president, prime minister and cabinet colleagues and so on. But when you come across in macro sense, it will have its own ability to give explanation regarding rank to file. Dear students, let me pass on one more important thing, that is significance of the executive. Yes, what is this? What is the significance of the executive? What in Indian sense our president will do? What Vice President will do in his absence? What is the important position of the what we call Prime Minister and his cabinet colleagues? Of course, dear students, I would like to recall you once again with the position of American President. Yes, American President, you know, though he has been considered as the President himself is the executive of that nation, he will have his own supporters as secretaries. That is the different thing. When you come across Indian executive, here there will be a group of what we call, what I told you, the President, Prime Minister and his cabinet colleagues. Of course, why I am going to give once again this explanation, while we are going to understand the significance of the executive, we must keep these things in our mind. What is the American executive? What is the Indian executive? Between this, what about the UK executive? If you want in the forthcoming classes, you will be understand the different world executives. Of course, I would like to give what is the importance or significance of the executive in general, not in particular. Yes, the efficiency of administration requires prompt and energetic executive. Of course, what this line says, where there is an efficiency with the people who are working within the framework of the executive, yes, that will show it is energetic one. If you understand, if you get effective administration from an executive, it must be with the prompt and energetic fellows as executors. Yes? When you come across the second line, proper implementation of law mainly depends on this organ. See, this line is going to explain what I have already told you. If there is a proper and good executive, yes, there will be effective, successful government. Otherwise, impossible to have its effectiveness. That's why this line will going to say proper implementation of laws which are created by the legislature mainly depends on, yes, executive. If there is a effective and proper what we call executor, yes, the success of the executive will come with the name of government. Yes, students, in what way you are going to signify its what we call functions? Yes, number one, that is implements laws promptly and gently throughout the country. Yes, the country like India, which will have its own different geographical dimension. Yes, in this geographical dimension, Indian executive must be able to reach each and every person of this nation. He may be somewhere. For example, a person who is living in the border of the Untitled Pradesh. Yes, Indian executive must reach its own laws that fellow also. Then only the successfulness will come to what we call executive. It is significance. That's why we are going to say implements law promptly and gently throughout the country. This line says while implementing the laws, there must be equality, there must be effective, there must be no question of discrimination. The person who is having his position in the Delhi capital, the same thing should be go with the person who is in the what we call Nagaland or Mizoram or Arunachal Pradesh fellow. Yes. The second thing is provide vigorous leadership to the country. Yes. Executive. What have I already told you? If you come to American executive, yes, there must be very good leadership with the president of the nation. When you come across India, yes, Indian nation must have a good leadership at the presidential position, vice president position, prime minister position, and with the what we call cabinet colleagues or cabinet fellows. It is the important thing. That's why we are going to understand provides vigorous leadership to the country. An effective executive will provide vigorous leadership to the country. This is second significance, dear students. Let me pass on. Third significance, which is fulfills the need of the country. Yes, legislature will going to make many laws, but effective implementation of those laws is very important. That significance we can notice in this segment. Dear students. Okay, students, let us pass on. The third point of the significance of the executive, that is, it fulfills the need of the country. Yes. Dear students, you must be keeping in mind. What is it? Why? Legislature is going to create the laws. It must be abided by to the needs of the fellow beings of the country. Yes. That's why we are going to say, in the same way, executive also act as a second organ in the government to fulfill the need of the country. Yes. Why? The legislature is going to create according to needfulness of the peoples of the nation. Yes. The executive must go with the need of the fellow beings of the country, because it will be satisfied their own aspirations, their own needs. That's why the success of the government will be depends upon what we call executive, what we are already discussed. The same thing we are going to discuss in this point, that is, it must be fulfills the need of the country. Yes, it is. It's one of the significances. Dear students, let me pause on. Achieves the goal of the welfare of the state concept. Of course. Dear students, I would like to ask one question. Why state came into exist according to our father of political science? Yes. It came into exist for the sake of the fellow beings or people. No, not only people, it is the good life of the people. Yes. In what way you are going to bring good life of the people? Yes. The same thing we are going to explain in this slide. It achieves the goal of the welfare state concept. Yes. In the modern democracies, all nations are always moving with welfare state concept. Who is going to implement? Who is going to make success of the welfare state? Yes, the lion's share depends upon the activity of the executive. Yes, every executive of the democratic state must go with what we call welfare state concept. It must be abide by to chase the goal which is known as what we call welfare state. Welfare state will provide everything to the fellow beings of that country. That fellow being will lead good life automatically when the effective executive. Yes. Let me pass on. Last point, which is known as makes way to the participatory democracy. Dear students, this slide make true what is real democracy. How? Let me explain. Dear students, every democratic nation go with the participatory democracy. In what way you are going to decide it is participatory one? Yes. When you come across Indian nation, yes, we have three stages of government. That is union government, state government. With support to this government, there is a local self-government. Dear students, India will have 1 billion ad population. The situation is like this. Every fellow being, every citizen of India India is aspired to participate in the Indian political system, administrative system. Yes, the proper and effective executive make this real, make this true. How? All fellows is not possible to become ministers at the union government, in the nation. All fellows is not possible to become administrators or politicians or rulers in the state government. But even a simple fellow can have his own satisfaction by having power at the local self-government. That is, urban local self-government, rural local government. I mean, when you come across urban local self-government, that is Mahanagarapalicas, yes. City corporations, yes. Purasabha, Patana Panchayat. When you come across what we call rural local self-governments, that is Jilla Panchayats, Taluka Panchayats, and Gram Panchayats. A simple fellow can participate, can contest election and grab the power. Yes, it is the beauty of the Indian democratic executive. That's why we are going to say, dear friends, you must be keep in your mind, the effective executive makes the way the participatory democracy. Each and every person of the society, this state, can participate in the what we call political system, administrative system by elected as a Gram Panchayat member, of course. A Gram Panchayat member, a Purasabha councillor, a corporation corporator. Yes, this way has been, yes, paves the way towards every person of Indian nation. Yes, it is known as what we call participatory democracy. Dear students, till now we have been discussed what is executive in the world sense in general. We have also discussed the Indian executive in particular. When you come across in this particularity, we have been understand what is our president, what is our vice president, what is our prime minister and his cabinet colleagues. And also, we came to know in simple the governor, chief minister. We are also understand what is the success of government and how the success of government will come with the existence of effective executive. Dear students, in the coming classes, you are going to understand the President of India, Vice President of India, the Prime Minister of India and his cabinet colleagues, governors of the state, how they are going to act as a chiefs of the what we call Indian Constitution, Indian government at the state level, the Chief Minister and his cabinet colleagues. These things you are going to understand in the coming classes in detail. Just we have been discussed what the meaning and significance of the executive in general and in what we call particular. Thank you.